Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. Georgia's ruling party lawmakers have elected former Manchester City striker Mikheil Kavelashvili as the country's next president. However, the incumbent president, Salome Zaroubashvili, has stated that she is not going to give up her post as she does not recognize the current government after the latest parliamentary elections. Now, protests are growing across the country, and the opposition saying that democracy and the economy are under threat. Now, joining me now to discuss what awaits the future of Georgia is Giorgi Odoshashvili from the University of Ilia State University. Giorgi, good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, it's been weeks of massive protests across Georgia. The situation is evolving rapidly. Now Georgia is here seen to have a new president, a former soccer player. First, what can you tell us about Mikheil Kavelashvili? And of course, how do you see the situation in Georgia evolving in the coming weeks?
Gamarjoba, and thank you very much for giving me a chance to talk about the current political situation of Georgia. This is really hard to talk what's going to happen in previous days because we have several tricks made by Georgian Dream Party, the tricks that we really did not expect. The combination of those tricks are very complex to talk about, but one of those combinations is the president, so-called president, Mikheil Kavelashvili, who is the problem is not that he's a former soccer player. The problem is in several dimensional things. One of them is that he has no formal education, higher education, no university diploma. The second problem is that people, even Georgian Dream Party voters, think that the party could find someone in the party list who even had a diploma. And the third one, and very existential thing in that regard, in political legitimacy thing, is that do we speak about the president of Georgia? Do we really speak about the president of Georgia or so-called president of Georgia? Because the legitimacy of the elections as well as the parliament and the third one, now it's said the president is under threat. It's doubted, because the international community so far does not recognize the election result of Georgia. This morning, lots of senators called to re-elect the parliament. U.S. senators, representatives of Negobariak.
Giorgi, you're saying a lot of interesting things here. Let me just interrupt you right there. So, is this actually feasible? You just said that, senators are calling in. They want to go back into other parliamentary elections. So how feasible is this before, we go on with everything else?
This is doable. Why not? This is just a political desire. Political will is something that must decide whether it's important. It's important. So never in the history had we faced a political crisis of Georgia like this, because the political crisis is tangibly seen now. This is crisis. People are out in the streets and protests, and it's nonstop. The Georgian Dream Party politicians wait for the people to stop, but people don't stop because their votes are lost somewhere. If we believe these elections, every second person in Georgia voted for Georgian Dream, and people know that it's not true. They did not elect the parliament they have. This is one-party parliament, and one-party parliament elects elected the so-called president, and people protest that. It is gradual thing.
Giorgi, let me ask you this again. I mean, you just said the protesters are still there, and we can see that clearly, the images we're seeing right now on the screen. However, our correspondent has been there since the beginning of the protest for 17 days now. He's there on the streets day in, day out, morning till night. And what he said in his latest report is that the protests have unfortunately died down a little bit. But now tell me, how determined are Georgians to keep the protests going? Are they going to actually have the power to change the situation? And why, if may I ask you, do you think that they have died down?
No, not really. I don't really agree with the opinion, because I'm also there, and I'm not kind of subjective. I can now with you. I'm very, I'm the researcher in that point of view. So maybe he was talking about yesterday when the mayor of Tbilisi was going to light up the Christmas tree, which was, I mean, ridiculous in some way. That you see that like youngsters were beaten by police, and lots of like humiliations we are seeing before, and like he was going to light up the Christmas tree and calling for the party makers to come and bring their children and see this Christmas miracle at point of view. Maybe he meant yesterday, because yesterday the protesters decided not to join, not to stand in front of the parliament, not to to prevent the civil attack with the Georgian Dream party people, you know. That's why yesterday protesters who used to protest the several days did not go to the in front of the parliament to prevent.
So do you think that with their continuation of demonstrating on the streets that they will be able to change the political situation that's the crisis that's been unfolding in Georgia?
Thank you. That's the only way we can do, Georgian society can do right now, to face this into the streets. That's the way of representing yourself if election as a political process does not work. That's the only way to the protesting and being in streets, out in streets and protest and tell the so-called government that you can see, you are the boss from the bottom up principle. That's the only way we can do. Do we have a choice?
Tell me a little bit about Mikheil Kavelashvili's any links to Russia, possibly? What is his any anti-Western rhetorics? What do we know about that?
I don't really have, basis of to tell you that Kavelashvili is directly connected to Russia, but the political party he represents is directed to Russia, and that's undoubtful thing right now. Like we were in doubts to say that like 2-3 years ago, but now we can strictly say that. Kavelashvili used to the phrases that from the parliament he saw. He said was that international forces must not be intervened in Georgia, and so on and so forth. So I don't really. He was not a crucial political figure so far. He was just famous from swearing and attacking journalists and being aggressive in the parliament. Not intelligent. Not from the saying of intelligence.
So let me ask you this: are there any signs of the ruling party in Georgia now withdrawing from its anti-EU position? Are they willing to maybe negotiate with the opposition? Is this possible?
I don't think so. Not so far, because they are strict. Every morning, a prime minister comes into the television and has this daily report, and he's more and more aggressive towards journalists, towards calling these people who protest in front of the parliament, brutal people and radical opposition. And no, I don't think any signs so far.
Giorgi, let me ask you about Salome Zaroubashvili. Now, she says that she's not stepping down. She says that she's going to keep her position as president, but now, I mean, her term is supposed to be up next week. But now, can the ruling party actually remove her by force? Or what are the scenarios we're looking at? And I mean, can the EU do something? Can the West do something? What are the scenarios that we're looking at?
Thank you for the question. I don't really know just to predict anything. Like I can say whatever I've seen this morning. Joe Wilson, the one of the most crucial people in Trump's administration, posted on Twitter this morning that the only legitimate president of Georgia is Salome Zaroubashvili, and Kavelashvili is not a legitimate one. And he calls for the government to, hold another elections. As to the Zaroubashvili, she said that she is not going to step down. I don't know how doable is this, because Georgian Dream Party uses force, and we saw that in streets, so they can easily kick her out from the presidential residence.
So by force, you're saying they can actually remove her, forcefully remove. This is what you're saying.
Of course. I expect everything from their side, because they did it already, and it's quite expected that they can do that. As to the second part of the question, what can the West do? I don't know. Just don't recognize the legitimacy of the so-called parliament, government, and now president. This is the only way they can, circle Georgian Dream Party and strictly diplomatically attack them, because they cannot intervene in Georgia, and
Giorgi, let me ask you this as a final question to you. I mean, with everything that's going on in Georgia right now, do you see this actually evolving further on into the South Caucasus? Do you see what is the impact that you could say is happening with the neighboring countries? I mean, I'm talking about Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkey. What can you say of how this is taking course and unfolding?
The thing that we see now in the political situation in South Caucasus is very interesting, because the forces that the democratic forces that we are directed to Georgia now is gone to Armenia, because Armenia is kind of stepping out from Russian influences. As to the Azerbaijani president, he congratulated Kavelashvili at first to be appointed as a president of Georgia, and then to be elected as a president of Georgia. So this is also interesting. But let me remind you that Azerbaijan is a consolidated authoritarian. As to the Turkey is also consolidated authoritarian. So this is, and as to the spillover effect connected to Georgia, it's vice versa. We are surrounded by authoritarian regimes, so this authoritarianism spilled over into Georgia.
Thank you so much, Giorgi Odoshashvili. That's all the time we have for this morning, for breaking it down for us, the unfolding chaos and crisis unfolding in Georgia. Giorgi Odoshashvili, lecturer at Ilia State University. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.